Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And it is Friday the 13th. How you feeling?
It's been a long path, and today is Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it is Friday the 13th, the day we're recording this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But it is Friday the 13th, and I think it's actually kind of fitting that we didn't end on the final chapter, that we're ending this very big Friday the 13th week on Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, which, yeah, I mean, is the return of Jason after they said he's done for, final chapter, and then the next year they bring him back because I guess it just made too much money.
Yeah, it was too much money, and then it was, I mean, you think about it, they don't get super well-known people. Pretty much like all these people that they get, there hasn't been like any names like before the hand. They're either like these up-and-coming people or total unknowns. So it's like they don't have to spend any money on casting or any stars. The directors, they're not super big directors. They're like first-time directors or names that have been around for a while. So it's just they don't have to spend hardly any money. And then when it turns a huge profit, it's like, well, yeah, I guess we should just make more of these.
What a weird pick for director on this one. Danny Steinman, who made a few exploitation movies, but is also notable for being a porn director. They brought a porn director in for this one, and it shows.
It shows. It shows. I think at times he forgot that he wasn't directing a porno sometimes.
Yeah, I had like a quote somewhere, but he pretty much said that he filmed a porno out in the woods. That's what he said, and they cut out his movie. This is the sleaziest Friday the 13th movie. That is, they say in the documentary, and I totally agree. It is sleazy, and I guess behind the scenes there was a huge drug issue on set. A lot of people taking drugs. That shows as well.
Yeah, pretty much like lots of boobs in this one, and so much so that there's, I think, boob moments may even outnumber gore moments. I don't know, but
I think so. I do. Well, the gore in this one, I think it's the most deaths in the series so far, but they really cut back on them. They're really boring in this one.
They are. They're not very good.
Jason just kind of like slits people's throats, hits people. There's like a couple cool deaths, but otherwise it's very boring. Where I got my enjoyment out of this one is it's just so bizarre. It is so bizarre because it's an actual continuation of the last movie. Actually, Corey Feldman returns for a little bit at the beginning, which is a scene I don't understand how it works at all. Why is Corey Feldman out in the woods in the rain, and then he finds people digging up Jason, and Jason's gravestone has just Jason spray painted on it?
I'm assuming it's just in terms of context, I guess that was because it was a dream, maybe, but
I guess you're right. But it is just like, it's weird. It's a very odd way to start your movie.
So they start the movie with Corey Feldman, and apparently they really wanted Corey Feldman to come back, and even Corey Feldman wanted to come back. But at that point, he was like in super high demand.
Yeah.
And
he was in Goonies, right? This was the year of Goonies.
It was. Yeah. So he was like, Steven Spielberg. He was in Steven Spielberg with Richard Donner and all them. And they really wanted him. Well, go ahead.
Well, was he joking in the documentary? Because he was like, oh, I wanted to work on Friday the 13th, but stupid Steven Spielberg. Like, he called him, like, stupid. And it didn't seem like a joke.
I think it was a joke.
Okay, I hope so. Because, it would have been great if he returned, but he definitely had great career prospects there.
I doubt Corey Feldman hates being in the Goonies. So.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that probably still gets him a little bit of a check every once in a while.
Exactly. They actually went to Corey Feldman's house and filmed this scene in his backyard.
No way. I missed that.
They said like he was in such high demand that they said he was busy every single day, so they had to moved the entire production just to his house, and they had him. They had to like bring a rain machine too, and like shoot him like in his bushes at his house.
That's kind of awesome, actually. That's how high in demand he is. I mean, he is such a big star at like right after this, or right after the last one, that I'm sure just having him in it for a little bit was big enough. But no, this movie takes place in the future. And
how far we don't know.
Yeah, and I want to get into that whenever we do get back to this. The timeline for the Friday the 13th movies is wacky past this point. But Tommy Jarvis does return. He's older, and he's played by like this buff dude, Sam Shepard. Or no, not Sam Shepard. John Shepard. He's like huge and mute. He doesn't speak for most of the movie. He actually sweats a lot in this movie.
He does.
Yeah.
What did you think of older Tommy Jarvis?
Awful.
I did not like him at all.
So here's my thing with this movie. I actually think it's a pretty cool idea that Tommy Jarvis would be traumatized so bad from his experience that he would end up in a mental institution and, you know, being terrorized by the thoughts. It's interesting, but the guy that got them to play him, I just don't think sells it well enough.
Well, he doesn't do anything in the movie, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, he's not in it for a good chunk, it feels like.
No, I mean, it's mainly the final girl and like a little kid that are the main characters. Almost they're the last surviving people. And older Tommy, he shows up and he's kind of like, he's got some very serious PTSD. A lot of stuff sets him off. Like one guy does like a little prank to Tommy, and Tommy just like suplexes him into a table.
That was the funniest part, because he like just like he pops out at him with a Halloween mask on, and like this dude goes like full on like karate kung fu, beats the crap out of him for this. So yeah, you don't mess with Tommy Jarvis, I guess.
The real scene stealing moment in this movie, Nathan, is at the very beginning after we get to, because Tommy Jarvis goes to like a school for troubled teens or whatever, like a little halfway house type of thing. And there's a character there named Joey, and he loves chocolate bars.
He loves chocolate. He's a bigger guy, right? He's like kind of obese, and of course he's carrying around chocolate bars. He has chocolate all around his mouth, like on the corners of his mouth. And oh my God. What a character. And he's not even really in the movie.
Do you think he was mentally disabled?
I do. Okay. He had a little bit of like, he's doing a little bit of what you'd consider like a mentally disabled impression. Yeah. And I think that's because like he goes up to like this really angry dude with an axe. And I don't know who gave a kid in this place an axe in the first place, and starts offering him chocolate. And this scene, people listening, look up this scene. Just
if you don't
look it up.
I'll tell you right now, you can skip this entire movie, but just go watch this one scene.
That's so funny. Because like he's offering this guy chocolate. So nice.
Well, first he goes up to the two girls.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, did you guys want half a chocolate bar? He's like, I want half, but you can have half, I guess. And they're like, no, Joey, go away. Like they're already super annoyed because they're hanging up laundry. And he's like, oh, I can help with the laundry. I do really good with the laundry. And he sticks his hands all over these white sheets, and he gets chocolate smeared all over. And they're like, Joey, what are you doing?
Yeah. And of course they kick him out, and he goes up to the guy with the axe, and they're like laughing at him the whole time too. Like as they try to interact, or he tries to interact with him. I don't know what this dude's problem is, because like he's just offering him chocolate. And this dude's like, get out of here. Stop talking to me, yelling at him.
Right. And Joey didn't even do anything to him. He's like, hey, Vic, you want my chocolate bar?
Yeah, he's like, I've got two. I can give you one of mine.
And he's like, and then so he's chopping wood, and he puts the chocolate bar on one of the logs, and he's like, here, I'll just leave this here so you can have it when you're ready. And then he chops the chocolate bar with the axe. He's like, well, if that's how you feel, then forget you.
Yeah, he's like, Vic, that was out of line. He gives this great speech about just how he should have never cut this chocolate bar in half.
Here, Vic, want a bite? Here, I'll just put it over here. And later on, when you're hungry, you can have it. Well, if that's the way you feel, forget it, Vic. Just forget it. But I think you're really out of line.
And then he gets killed.
Yeah, the guy straight up murders this character.
Yeah. And this scene
out
is
of nowhere.
This scene is so funny because this is the scene that sets forward the rest of the plot. This is the most important scene in the whole movie.
Right, because at first you're just thinking, oh, there's some really troubled teens. Like they just get set off. Like, no, this is the whole reason about why all these murders are happening.
Yeah, because I mean, spoilers for a very old movie, but so one of the big things that people talk about with this movie is the killer is not Jason. They do not bring Jason back to life in this one. Joey's dad is the killer, and it's the weirdest setup because Joey's dad shows up to the institution or the halfway house and sees the dead body and doesn't say anything like, my boy, my son.
Well, yeah, because they even say like Joey was abandoned, and it just because they say Joey's mom died during childbirth, and then his dad like went out of town and never saw the kid. So it just so happened that Joey was murdered. Mm-hmm. The one EMT driver just happened to be his father that ran away and abandoned him.
Yeah, and then of course the other dude there happens to be like, they haven't seen a dead body before. Pussies. That's exactly
he's chewing bubble gum. This poor boy has been like chopped to the bits, and he's just like, there's blood everywhere, and he lifts up the blanket so that way all the other teens can see it, and they're like, what a bunch of pussies. Like, I've never seen the body.
Yeah. And I guess this sets off the dad so much that he dresses up like Jason and goes around killing people in the same fashion. Of course, as soon as Tommy Jarvis ends up at the halfway house. What a weird movie.
Did they say why he dressed up like Jason? Like, did they like?
No, what I would assume is maybe he did it to try to pin it on Tommy Jarvis because, you know.
Really?
I don't know because they don't explain it. I don't get the jump, and that's the hoops that I have to jump through to even connect it.
Because I'm guessing it's probably. I mean, I'm guessing Tommy is like teenager or whatever. So I mean, it's probably been. I'll say 5 years, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
So I don't know why I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna dress up like this guy that killed like 20 teenagers or whatever over a weekend 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't get it. And of course it's like they put a note in there that it's not Jason by making the little red parts on the mask blue in this one. Wow.
That was the dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Which I did notice that. I was like, oh, the hockey mask is different, but I didn't think anything of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so did you go into this not knowing who the killer was?
I had no idea.
Oh,
well,
okay, that's interesting. Cool.
I had no idea. Well, I mean, like, I remember, like, because I watched the documentary in chunks, so like I'll watch the movie and then I'll watch the documentary. So part of it. So I had no idea. I thought it was going to be Jason. I mean, I didn't have any other reason to think otherwise.
So I guess then I guess I would ask you the question because I knew the plot of this movie because I know because it's kind of. It's a wacky movie. How did you feel about the twist at the end that it was his dad? Because it's very like he falls, he dies, his mask is off, and then you're supposed to know.
Honestly, I thought it was stupid.
Yeah, it's awful. It's so awful.
I don't know why you would ever deviate from that whole, like, I mean, you had a winning formula. You got Jason. People would have believed it regardless if he came back to life or not. So I don't know why you couldn't just make up some stupid reason about why Jason was alive. Or if you're going to do something like that, go all in, make Tommy Jason. And then they don't do that until the very end of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's just because like they were talking about it in the documentary, like, oh, it's a whodunit, Not really.
No, I didn't think that at all when I was watching this movie.
I think they were just trying to like compensate because I mean, the documentary doesn't want to go too hard on a movie, but I think this is definitely like a black sheep in the series. It's especially just not having Jason.
Yeah, it's not good at all. But I mean,
it's funny though. I laughed my ass off in this one.
It's hilarious, and there's so many other moments too. Like, okay, my other favorite, well, not favorite, but it was funny to watch, was the one guy that got killed in the toilet in like the outhouse.
Yeah, demon.
So he goes, he's making out with his girlfriend. He's just like, oh, like those enchiladas are getting to me, and just like runs to the bathroom at full sprint, and then he's sitting there like on the toilet, like, whoo, like he's just like, oh, thank God. And then like the outhouse starts shaking, and you think it's going to be Jason at this point, but it's his girlfriend, like, playing a little joke on him, and he's like, man, woman, don't be doing that to me while I'm trying to shit. And she's like, oh, calm down. Like, she says, you'll feel better after you take a shit.
Yeah, and then they start singing. She starts singing from outside of the outhouse. He starts singing. And then, of course, not Jason, sorry. Some form of Jason comes and kills them both. Stabs him through what a bad way to die. In a toilet. That sucks.
Well, and the other thing, too, the guy does the same method as the guy from 3. Like, when he's done shitting, he just pulls up his pants. He doesn't wipe or anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep a note of every scene that has somebody pooping in it, so I know. Like, I just want to see if that's a movie thing where people just don't wipe, right? Because no one wants to shoot like somebody wiping. Thing. Yeah, people just pull up their pants in movies. Because I can tell you, this outhouse does not have a bidet. That thing did not have a bidet.
Yeah, I mean, unless this guy is just like eating straight up, like just he just drinks water all the time or something.
No, it was enchiladas, man.
I know, and that's not going to be a clean bowel movement.
No, no, it's not. Funny that there's another dumping scene in 2 of these like movies.
This movie, like you said, is super sleazy. So there's a scene where like a woman is like totally irrelevant to the plot. You don't know who this woman is, but she's like going, like this guy is coming to pick her up for a date.
Yeah.
It's just like a little vignette almost.
Yeah.
It
has no bearing on the plot.
Right. The guy shows up. He's like yelling at his woman to like come outside. She's like, all right, I'll be there in a minute. And he starts doing cocaine in the car.
I love it because like he does the sniff of cocaine and he makes like this loud like yelping like woo, like after he does it. I mean, I think they were doing real cocaine while filming this part. It
wouldn't have shocked me at all.
Yeah.
And then the girl is in the bathroom getting ready, and then she just pulls down her top just to show like her boobs, and she goes, it's showtime, like for nobody but herself.
But what's funny is from the documentary, it sounded like it was that actress's idea. She's like, okay, I got a great idea to the director. I'm going to show my boobs and say it's showtime.
Yeah, he's like, great idea.
Yeah, I mean, of course this guy is like, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she seemed all for it, but it feels so like lame in the movie. And it's a long scene too, because they have banter, because like, it's like, I'm here to pick you up, and she's like plays with him a little bit, and yeah, it has nothing to do with it. There's another scene like that where it's like these 2 other teens where like their car breaks down, and that again has nothing to do with the plot. And because you'd think like so I thought the whole reason why like he was killing those people because he thought like, oh, they were pushing Joey too hard or whatever. Yeah.
And he was like just going to kill those people that wronged him. But no, he's just killing random people. Yeah,
that's the thing. I don't get his motives unless
that's why I never thought it was a who done it, because Jason kills indiscriminately.
Exactly. And that's what it seems like. It didn't even seem, it seemed like a vengeance plot. Like that's what it would be. Not a whole like, oh, he just went crazy and just started murdering people. Because like he even kills, I think they call him Demon. I think it's like Demon is what it is, and he kills him, and he has nothing to do with anything.
No,
he kills a couple like those farmer characters or whatever they are.
Oh, those characters they're something.
Yeah, so I thought they were funny at first. They get annoying so fast. Why are they in this movie so much?
Like imagine it's like those movies where it's like the like a hit character is like, dag nabbit, like
Yeah.
but they're doing it like over and over again, and they will not shut up. They're in multiple scenes. It's not like, oh, introduce them and then kill them type of thing. It's like, no, they're in this scene. They're in there. Then they're in this other scene where it's just the two of them together. And
yeah, and a guy comes in and is like, "Oh, can I get work at your farm?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can clean the chicken coop." And it's I don't know
why it's there. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess these scenes are ad-lib too, and it sounds like it because this lady, the main one, just curses every line. Like every other word is filled with like an expletive, and her like it's her son just repeats everything she says. It's so odd. It makes this Friday the 13th is just so different because every Friday the 13th kind of has its silly moments, but this is like something out of like a slapstick comedy.
I didn't watch the guy's movie that he did, but they did in the documentary. They did show like a clip of the guy's porno, and that's what it was kind of was. It was like a porno / comedy. It looked like from that minute or so clip that they showed. So I think that's just his style, but
we'll have to watch it at some point. I'm just kidding.
So there's that one scene where it's really funny, but there's one scene where it's like the two teens, like the two sex-crazed teens. They're like, okay, we got to go out and have sex out in the woods. So they go out in the woods, and like in the scene, it's really quick. And it's really funny because like the guy's like, it makes him look like Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like
I'm done.
Yeah, but apparently that scene was really long. Like they said,
I think that's what the director meant by like he filmed a porn out in the woods.
Well, that's what they said. He was like they interviewed the editor of this movie, and the editor was just like horrified about what was happening in front of them because he said they were watching the scene, and the director is literally yelling. This is his words, like "fuck her," like "fuck her in the pussy," "fuck her," like grab her tits, and just like, and like the editor was just standing there like, how am I going to edit this movie? And one guy's like, just pretend like you're editing like a Pepsi commercial. And that's what it kind of is. It's like they do like a little sex scene, but you don't see much of the sex, but they just, but it's funny though, because like the female they had gotten for that scene. So going back to the fourth movie, with the aerobics tape, that girl actually auditioned for this part in the movie. And when she showed up there on audition day, the director was like, all right, let's see your tits.
Yeah,
like
that I was so disgusted to hear because I was like, oh, it really was awful in those days. And they picked the girl that's in this one just because she had bigger boobs.
That's what they said. She's like, apparently I didn't have big enough boobs. And then it's funny how they shot it in the documentary because she said I didn't have bigger boobs. And then how they go to their next interview, it's just like a close up of the girl's boobs and like, I was picked to do this role. Like,
yeah, and in the movie they show them. It's like a down shot, and she's just laid out for you to see for a very long time.
I guess because she was like a former playmate, I think is what they said.
Her last name was Voorhees as well.
Yeah, I think they said like they saw her name and they're like, oh, perfect. And then she probably has one of the more gruesome deaths in this movie.
Yeah, she does. It doesn't really show it. It shows because Jason gets hedge clippers, kind of clips her like eyes and nose, but they don't really show it. They show the aftermath of it. Like you hear the bone break, you see like red on her face afterwards. But that's probably one of the more creative ones. The guy. Go ahead.
I was going to say the one immediately following that one, the belt twist one. That was probably the other most creative one.
Yeah, that one I really like. That's like the one kill I think is like really like interesting, even though I guess they got it wrong because in one shot, because he ties like this leather belt or something around a tree and squeezes his head so hard that he dies. But in one scene he's turning it clockwise, and in the next shot he's turning it counterclockwise. And I remember I didn't make the connection while watching it, but while I was watching it, I definitely noticed something weird happened. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Something in my brain didn't click fully.
Yeah, but It was something. That was probably like the coolest part. But like you said, most of the other deaths are either off screen or it's just like Jason slices their throat and they die.
Yeah, and because like I knew that it was going to be a bad one because one of the earliest kills is a slashing throat scene. There's like two dudes with a car that's broken down, and I guess fans have said they're the first gay characters in Friday the 13th. I don't know.
They gave zero indication because when they said that in the documentary, I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
I had no. I was like, okay, I guess, but they even said like, well, we don't know because they're barely in the movie. So
Yeah, but like he dies getting his throat slashed, and it looks really bad. It just looks like awful.
it just looks like there was like paint on the knife and just like just running across the throat and his
Mhm.
throat slit.
Yeah, and I think that overall, this movie feels very lazy because it's a lazy whodunit. You know, like there is no whodunit elements, and then there's a twist that's really bad based off of a really silly scene, and the whole ending. I hated this ending. There's like a little boy that lives there, and it's the final girl and them running around, and it's just I was never didn't
It's
enjoy it.
bad. It's
Yeah,
bad. And I mean and I will say like the little kid in this one is fine. He's
yeah.
not annoying or whatever like other movies we've talked about, but
Mhm.
um it's but they're definitely not very good either. So I was like, okay, like I just did not care one bit. I mean, the final girl in this movie is almost non-existent up to this point. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's what we said. Like the whole movie is just a bunch of vignettes of other characters, and they're like, okay, she's the main character.
Yeah, no, you wanted to say like that the last final girl was like forgettable. This one is forgettable. Just no, and nothing interesting. Once again, it's like they obviously kind of wanted a little boy to survive all of this. They could have just ended it with that. I know final girl is a slasher trope, but you can break that trope every once in a while. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing too is the girl in this movie said she hated the director, which that doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
Yeah,
And
and I
but
hate
they
it. The documentary kind of almost painted it like she was the issue, like she was kind of the problem. But this director sounds like a sleazeball.
he did. He sounded like a total sleazeball, and
Yeah.
even like the producer of the movie, Frank Mancuso Jr., who we haven't really talked about, but he was like the main producer of all these movies.
Hmm.
Even he was like, well, that was just his creative vision because he thought it would bring in more people. I'm like, shut up. Like,
Yeah, talking like a real business executive, or like a film producer, like because I guess he
yeah,
produced all of these.
but they, like you said, like the girl, she had a terrible time and they made her out to be like this prima donna. It's like, oh, she actually expected somebody to pick her up each day, or like,
Yeah, and it's like we aren't filming something like that, honey. Well, come on, like I don't know.
it's just a really bad movie, and I can tell that nobody had fun making it. It just
Mhm.
seemed like everybody had like a really bad time, and so much so that this director of this movie never worked again.
Yeah, never. Like I can't believe a movie like this like can cancel a whole career, but it really is that bad. I mean, even fans, it seems, even fans who really enjoy these movies, I think no, I don't. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out here there who likes it, of course, but I think this one's definitely critically panned. Like even by fans, people just don't really enjoy this one because it just it doesn't capture what made four, coming off of four, captured what a perfect Friday the 13th movie could be, right? Like what you want out of it. And this just doesn't deliver any of that.
And but it was still a semi-hit. It wasn't as big as the other one, but it
No.
still made money.
Yeah, I think it was 2.2 million made and then it made 22 million, which is that's a huge profit once again. So they're going to keep milking it.
Yeah, so we'll find out more when we do Friday the 13th Part 6 eventually.
Yeah,
Uh,
whenever that comes around, I will say we ended maybe the week on the worst one of the bunch, in my opinion, but um, I'm still excited to watch the rest of these. I'm really
I,
happy to discover them. I think it's awesome.
I'm invested at this point. I got to see how it ends. But
Yeah,
I guess we can talk. We talked about agreeing this, but we can kind of do our rankings of these 5 movies.
Yeah, I wonder if ours would be like similar. But I guess you want to go first on your rankings?
Yeah, it's going to go number 1 at the top because that's like, to me, that's like that one's actually like a good movie. Like that's actually like a well-made horror movie where they actually were able to do a lot. I keep going back and forth, but I'm going to say number 2 is my number 2, with number 4 in a very close second. And then probably 3 and 5 is just awful. It's not a good movie.
Yeah, no, and that's my rankings are very close. 1 at the top for the exact same reasons you said. I think it's just a great movie, and I think it holds up as like a classic slasher for a reason. And then 4, and then 2, 3, and then 5. And 5 is leagues worse than 3 in my opinion. I didn't love 3, but I think 3, I would still be like, if you want to watch more Jason movies, watch 3. 3 isn't a bad one to watch.
I would rewatch 3 sooner than I would rewatch 5. Like,
yeah.
I would. The only thing I would rewatch in 5 is the chocolate bar scene.
Yeah, which I have watched multiple times since the movie. I'm not gonna lie. I had to show my fiance. I was like, okay, we're not watching the movie, but I am going to show you this scene.
Is Shelley still the worst character of the series?
Yes. Yeah, I could say so because, I mean, the characters in 5, oh, wait, there's the farmer, whatever, the hillbilly characters. No, Shelley's still the worst. I hate Shelley. I really do.
He's easily the worst character for me.
Yeah.
I mean, just had all the worst qualities of other ones. Like, even like in the very first movie, you had Ned, like the practical jokester who pretended to drown. Yes. But he didn't go all out. Shelley goes like all out, like, I'm going to pretend to be dead. I'm going to pretend to be the killer. I'm going to act like a total creep and act like a jerk because you don't want to talk to me and fall in love with me instantly. So probably easily the worst character of this series. But, we got 5 more movies to talk about, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. And here's another question. I just want to go over it. What was because this is important. What was your favorite kill of the bunch?
Oh, man. I'm going to say from Ford with the car scene again.
Oh, really? That's funny. That's a good pick.
It was so unexpected. Like, she gets thrown. I said it yesterday, but I'm going to say it again real quick. She gets thrown out of the 2nd-story window, lands on the car, and the windows, like, instead of the roof just being dented, like, the windows explode out.
No, that one's a funny kill. My choice is a little more cliche. I really liked in 3D the one where the eyeball that pops right out into the camera. I think that's so creative and fun. I loved it.
Oh, we didn't talk about in the 4th one when the one guy gets stabbed directly in the dick.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can cover that now. We're at the end. It's a little cleanup time. Or maybe I'll cut this in. But, yeah, no, the dude gets stabbed in the dick and, like, lifted up in the air by Jason. That one was brutal.
The only thing, so if we're adding in other cleanup stuff, the other thing too, another gruesome death was in 4 with the punk. Wait, or maybe this was 5.
No, 5 has the punk girl.
Oh, then then we could talk about it. So the punk rock girl, like, this shows another sleazy element. Originally, she was supposed to die by getting stabbed in the vagina.
Yeah, and I guess, because they showed, like, a still from, like, filming that day, and she had blood all over, like, her vagina, like, area, and I guess it just never made it into the movie.
Just showing again what a total creep this director was.
Yeah, that's so gross. But that's the thing. We did 5 of these in 1 week. I'm sure we missed something along the way. That's part of the problem, like, when you come into this. But
it was a fun endeavor, though. I'm glad we did it. It was a lot of movie watching. Not gonna lie, but it was worth it.
I agree. I think it was totally worth it. I think it was a great time, and I think this is going to be one of my favorite times on the show. But starting next week, we're moving right back into our regularly scheduled programming, Tuesday, Thursday. Sorry, listeners, we can't do 5 episodes a week.
If this becomes our full-time job ever in the future, I will agree to it, maybe.
Yes,
but...
I will do it then, but I can't do it now. But yeah, so coming up next Tuesday, we're actually pulling from the recommendations. I wanted to dive back into some recommendations because we've actually been getting a good amount of emails. I really love hearing from all of you listeners and getting all these movie recommendations. So if anybody out there, please send more. But I'm picking another choice from my dad, and that is Born Losers, which is the first Billy Jack movie. So really excited to talk about that one.
Can't wait. And that one is free on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah. The whole movie is on YouTube. And yeah, if you to send those recommendations, send them over at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to tweet at us, if Twitter is better, you can actually follow us and tweet at us at DIDFpod over on Twitter. And until next time.
Until next time.